My favourite director of all time, Christopher Nolan, has a new film out, Oppenheimer, about the father of the atomic bomb, J. Robert Oppenheimer, played by Cillian Murphy. Brilliant in this film, gotta be said. I found this film absolutely gripping from a purely character-driven standpoint. It's not an action film, it's not a sci-fi film, you know, we've become accustomed to Nolan offering us these big action spectacles, and while this does have what is an obvious kind of set piece that presents something in a visually stunning and action kind of way, it isn't that film. This is more akin to the kind of thing that maybe Aaron Sorkin would write. It's a lot of people in rooms talking. It's very dialogue heavy. It's very much the emphasis is on the drama rather than the visual spectacle. That's not to say that this isn't a visually stunning film, entirely shot in IMAX, the first from Christopher Nolan. He has been quite IMAX heavy in a lot of his films, but this is the first one that is shot entirely in IMAX. Now, I think he's able to do that by virtue of the fact that this isn't an action-packed movie. So you might say, well, what's the point then? But I think that there's a great deal of point. Having those big IMAX kind of visuals when we're so close in people's faces, you know, we see Cillian Murphy's face all the way across the screen. It really kind of draws us in to this man that he's playing, particularly this weight that is upon his shoulders. He is torn between these decisions of doing what he believes is the necessary thing, the thing that needs to be done, otherwise somebody with a lesser moral sensibility will do it anyway, and also, you know, the moral sense of unleashing such a weapon on the world could very well end it. He's torn between those two different sides, and I think Cillian Murphy does a really brilliant job of portraying that. This guy is no saint as well, and it's something I appreciate from Nolan, that he doesn't shy away from showing us this guy's kind of worst traits. He was a womanizer, you know, that's something that is on record. He cheated on his wife. He wasn't a perfect human being. And I think oftentimes when we're given these Hollywood movies about real life people, they clean them up a bit. They make them somewhat more heroic than they deserve to be portrayed. And I don't think that Nolan does that here with Oppenheimer. He gives us warts and all. I think some people will find that 3-hour running time a bit bum-numbing. I went with a friend last night to watch this, and he came out of it saying that he felt that running time. I personally didn't. I was engrossed, I was gripped throughout. I think some people will also complain that Nolan's dialogue is quite expositional. It's a criticism that is often lobbed at him. It's one that I kind of accept. I do think Nolan's dialogue can be expositional, but I reject because I am so engaged. I think I have trouble with expositional dialogue when it's so noticeable because everything else that's going around just isn't engaging. If you're just spoon feeding me all the stuff I need to know. But I think sometimes with Nolan, you kind of have to have that exposition. I appreciate the exposition at times because he's laying so much out at you. He's giving you so much that you're constantly playing catch up. So for me, it's not really a minus as far as his movies go, because I'm still so gripped, I'm still so drawn into the characters. So I actually don't mind a little bit of exposition now and again to keep me up to speed. In any given scene where there is exposition, there is still character development. There is still an intriguing aspect of the story that is happening within all that. So yeah, it doesn't bother me, but if Nolan's previous work has bothered you in that regard, then this one probably will as well. The cast for this is pretty stacked. You could take 3 supporting players in this movie, and in any other film they would be 3 kind of lead characters. So yeah, if you like seeing movies with really great actors in an ensemble coming together and producing great work, this is a great film to watch. I would say one of the standouts, as I think most people are likely to say, is Robert Downey Jr., who I think at this point is a shoo-in for a Best Supporting Actor Oscar. I think he does an awful lot here to distance himself from the Tony Stark role that has made him so famous over the last 10 years. And yeah, he draws out this character, this Strauss, who's kind of a villain of the piece in many ways, really well. It reminds us that he is more than Tony Stark. If there's anyone here I would say that suffers, it's probably Florence Pugh, and I say that simply because of how good an actress Florence Pugh is. I've seen her in so many things now, and she's always been the standout. She's always like, she can do no wrong. And it's not that I think she does any wrong here. I just think in such a wide cast, in such a huge story, a huge canvas of all these different characters, her character is the one that offers the least for me personally. And having said that, I really do think I'm grasping at straws to try and find things to criticise about this film, because it is a perfectly made film. It is a A-list director at the top of his game, not wasting a minute of screen time in order to tell the story that he wants to tell. And it is a truly epic story that kind of is told very intimately, I think, but deals with a lot of weighty themes, such as the abuse of power, such as consequences to actions, guilt, things like that. I just think it's also very relevant, I would say, to a lot of stuff that's going on today in the political climate. You think about how people are essentially told to shut up or made to shut up or kind of vilified by the media, and kind of, yeah, if you're not kind of towing the political line, so to speak, they find ways to shut you up or to make you look like an imbecile or whatever. It just feels like a lot of the stuff that is done to Oppenheimer throughout this film doesn't seem to have gone away, really. It may have taken on a different form, it may wear a different disguise, but it does feel highly relevant. And I feel like a lot of people sat there watching this today will kind of clue into a lot of stuff that is going on in the modern world, and with regards to how relevant it still is. Ludwig Göransson's score is absolutely fantastic as well. Feels very much like a Hans Zimmer score. I said that about his score for Tenet as well. He does seem to be the heir apparent to Hans Zimmer, particularly given the fact that he is working with Nolan. Again, it shows you that Nolan is a true auteur, because no matter who he gets to work for him, his films still have that same flavour. I came out of this movie not knowing that it was Göransson who'd done the score, and I instantly assumed it was Zimmer. I think I even said to my friend on the way out that I loved the Zimmer score, and then I looked it up and I was like, oh wow, it wasn't Hans Zimmer. But yeah, it feels very reminiscent, I would say, of a Hans Zimmer score, something akin to like Interstellar. Cinematography as well is on point. Again, as I say, it is mostly a lot of people sitting in rooms, often quite dingy rooms with nothing particularly beautiful to look at, and yet somehow it is beautiful to look at. I think there might be a lot of people coming to this who are really waiting for the scene. We know what this film's about. It's about the creation of the atom bomb. So obviously we want to see the atom bomb. We also know that Nolan doesn't use CGI in his movies if he can get away with it. So what's he going to do? How's it going to look? And yes, while that does create something that's visually stunning and also quite humorous, given the real life story and what people did in order to protect themselves from this nuclear blast, really not knowing anything for certainty. It's one of the big fears, one of the big things they talk about in this film is that actually, yeah, we're almost sure that this isn't going to destroy the world, but we can't be 100%. And yet you have people sat there with dark glasses on, getting ready for this thing to go off. That's actually quite humorous. So while there's humour peppered throughout, things like that, and that scene is visually spectacular, for me, it was actually the whole drama of it all, everything that Oppenheimer is going through mentally, and all the relationship stuff with his wife, and how she ends up essentially being his rock, even though she's got no reason to be because he's cheated on her. And it's like, yeah, you realise that she in herself was actually quite a heroic character, maybe the most heroic. Everyone had to sacrifice something except certain characters within the government who wanted stuff without making sacrifices. And I think that's a dichotomy that is going on throughout the film. I was blown away by it. I thought it was incredible. If you're a Nolan fan, you're gonna love it. If you have seen Oppenheimer, then please do let me know what you thought about it. Leave your comments down below. Thank you for watching this video. Please click that subscribe button and hit the notification bell as well so you get reminded of when I post new videos. You'd be surprised at how many people who watch my videos aren't actually subscribed. Subscribe, knock yourself out. Thank you for watching, and until next time, cracking.